What follows is a summary of the current status of the Crossway Baptist Church master plan process. Stark Architects has worked closely with the church family and is developing master planning and ideas and strategies for future growth of the church in its physical form, providing the facilities and services necessary for the ministries of the church. The initial look at the property with the existing buildings and the setbacks and the easement for the power line and that sort of thing revealed a desire to initially put a building toward the center of the property. We looked at the areas that the various buildings might take up if it was phased, and considered a 10,000 square foot area there toward the center of the property in various configurations. And that's kind of where everyone thought this might be headed as we had our initial talks. Data and information gained from that began to change that picture. To get a more precise understanding of where Crossway is right now, we did a series of surveys of who we are and what we have, and then a look ahead as to where we're going. That resulted in a series of studies of that information in a variety of spreadsheets, looking at the current capacity of the church and the loads of teachers and classrooms and where Crossway might go in its initial phases of 350 people worshiping and up to 600 people worshiping. And you can see that there's a variety of numbers there, the initial ones being what everyone's familiar with, and then the first phase resulting in an increase in classrooms and deacons and teachers and that sort of thing. And that became the standard of where we were headed, with the future two, we called it, being much further out and not as precise, but something to plan for. With this data established, we began to look at the site in more detail, again, starting where we were with buildings toward the center of the site, and looking at some varieties of areas that might lend themselves to a better use. We looked at essentially the front yard of the existing church buildings and some other locations considering access, and in doing that, we see that there's an opportunity to put some property of the church into play along Capitol Circle in a bit of an effort to raise capital for what the church would like to do in its ministries. Parking was a consideration. With the house remaining where it is, parking would happen toward the rear of the church buildings, and travel distance became a concern for the building committee. An alternative to that is to look at an option of moving the house or relocating the pastor's residence, and that lets parking be more proximate to the buildings themselves, more of direct access, not as far to travel. And then looking at a building more toward the intersection of Crawfordville Highway, creating a courtyard there between the existing buildings and creating place for children, place for fellowship, place for families. This configuration of building and creation of a courtyard establishes a place for Crossway, a symbol to the community and a resource for all in the ministries of the church.